"Who are you texting, Jacob? Have you finally started dating someone?" asked one of Jacob's roommates as he saw him texting someone nonstop. "It's just a friend," Jacob replied, putting his phone away. Sam grew inquisitive too and looked over at Kathy, who was sitting in the front row. He noticed that she was busy taking notes and that her phone was lying on her desk. The screen never lit up the entire time Jacob was texting. He knew that it wasn't her that Jacob had been texting. "If it isn't Kathy, maybe Jacob is talking to another girl? He didn't come back last night. What if it wasn't Kathy who he spent the night with? The four of us always hang around at school, and we know who Jacob talks to, and lately it has been no one else other than Kathy. Who else could Jacob be texting?" Sam was a bit confused, and his curiosity grew when he saw a secretive smile on Jacob's face while he was checking his messages. He knew it must have been a girl. Sam did not think of Jacob's tutoring job at night, but instead, his thoughts landed in a completely different direction. Susan. Would Jacob be that bold? People have been gossiping about him and Susan, but that is just gossip. No one would actually believe that Susan would become Jacob's girlfriend. Sam's thoughts got cut off when he heard the rest of the students moving out of the class. If anyone saw his face right now, they would be able to easily guess that he was making some deep calculations. He was trying to make sense of the situation, but couldn't derive any conclusion. As they all stepped out, they saw that it was raining outside, and none of them had brought an umbrella. Though it was cloudy in the morning when they had stepped out of their dorm rooms, they ignored it, acting cool by not bringing umbrellas to class. It resulted in the four roommates running to the cafeteria and lining up with the other students of their class. The cafeteria was, as usual, packed, since it was lunchtime. When the four of them ran into the cafeteria, the line for ordering food was already pretty long. It meant they would have to wait for a while before it was their turn. "Hey." Sam nudged Jacob and pointed at the door of the cafeteria with his chin. Kathy was trying to wring off as much water from her hair as she could when she walked into the cafeteria. Half of her body was soaked. She probably didn't bring an umbrella with her today either because she didn't expect rain to come down this hard. The white shirt she was wearing became a little see-through and stuck to her like a second skin. "Kathy." Jacob waved at her. Kathy looked at Jacob and nodded. She walked over as she squeezed the water out of her hair. The others grinned as soon as Jacob called Kathy over, especially Sam. Jacob immediately took his dark brown jacket off and put it around Kathy as soon as she came near him. Kathy was stunned when the jacket landed on her. She was really grateful to Jacob and was moved by his sincerity. Seeing this scene unfold, Sam thought to himself, "Jacob definitely has his way with girls. Offering his jacket, such a classic trick." "Your shirt is wet, so it has become a little see-through," Jacob explained in a whisper to Kathy. Kathy nodded in appreciation. She planned to go back to change and grab the umbrella after lunch. After taking off his jacket, Jacob was left with only a thin white tank top. His semi-naked body and his wet hair made him feel weird amongst the crowd. The good thing was that the weather wasn't too cold. Although it was raining, the temperature hadn't dipped. So even if it was a little uncomfortable for Jacob to stand in the cafeteria like this, he knew he wouldn't catch a cold. "Kathy, you can stand in front of me in the line if you'd like," Sam said cheerfully, remembering that this was one of Jacob's tricks and admiring him for it. "It's okay. I'm here with my friends, so I'll just go get in line with them over there. Thanks for the offer, though," she said as she walked towards her roommates, who were not far from them. She suddenly turned around after a few steps and said, "Thank you, Jacob. I'll return your jacket on Monday," she said with a smile. Jacob waved generously and replied, "It's okay. You can keep it." He then leaned in a bit and whispered to her, "It's a bit dirty, though. I'm sorry about that." He looked apologetic. Kathy laughed a little and walked over to her friends. "Atta boy, you got some moves." One of the guys punched Jacob's shoulder when he saw her walking away. "What moves? She was soaked because of the rain. Shouldn't I have given her my jacket?" Jacob murmured. "You are interested in Kathy, aren't you?" Another classmate couldn't contain his excitement. "Shut up. You guys have embarrassed me enough." Jacob glanced at him. "She must be interested in you, judging from my experience." Sam joined their conversation abruptly. "Experience? If I'm not mistaken, aren't you single?" Jacob cut him off and asked. Sam acted as if he was deeply hurt by this statement. He patted his chest and said, "That doesn't mean that I'm not experienced. When I was in high school..." The others immediately covered their ears and started shaking their heads. Listening to Sam's brilliant history of girlfriends was worse than watching a boring drama show. Jacob changed his clothes after lunch and headed to the mechanical drawing class in the afternoon with his roommates. The four of them chose the same class, but Kathy hadn't enrolled for this course. And so, she wouldn't run into them and certainly wouldn't be able to return Jacob's jacket. Their classes for the week were done as the 2-hour lecture came to an end. The internet cafe was their Friday afternoon go-to place. However, instead of joining them, Jacob said he needed to go home that weekend. Sam and the others knew about his grandma's incident and assumed he was in a hurry to go see her, and so they didn't insist that he came along with them. Jacob said goodbye to them and stuffed 2 umbrellas in his bag. He then took a bus to Cherry Grove High School, where Sophie was writing her exam. He didn't know why he suddenly felt the need to pick Sophie up from her school, but he knew he wanted to see her. The day had so far been stressful for him, and spending time with Sophie was just the stress buster he needed. On the way, he thought about the various reactions he could get from her for showing up unannounced. He hoped that she would like it. He considered calling Helen to inform her not to send anyone to pick Sophie up, but decided against it, wanting to keep it a surprise for everyone when they got home. He also didn't want Helen to go through the trouble of cooking special dishes for him, as she would if he announced his visit. It was almost 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and only 10 minutes remained for the end of their last midterm exam. Sophie's school, Cherry Grove High School, was one of the best schools in the city. It came under the Cherry Grove Private School, which had a middle school and a high school in the same premises. Midschoolers could directly enter high school after their graduation. The children of the affluent and wealthy families studied in this reputed school. The street outside was thus crowded with cars such as Audi, BMW, Mercedes, and Bentley. It was like a mini automobile exhibition. Jacob was the only one who came here to pick up a student with just an umbrella in his hand. After a few minutes, the parents who were waiting got out of their cars and searched for their kids as a crowd rushed outside. Since this was a semi-boarding school, most students could only go home on the weekends. Being an exam day and a Friday when all the parents would be waiting for their kids, it was the busiest day of the week. A large group of energetic students from all grades rushed towards the school gate in their uniforms. They were moving forward, akin to the waves of the ocean. Jacob moved forward to look for Sophie, but couldn't spot her in the sea of students in the same uniform. "What are you doing here?" Sophie appeared in front of him suddenly and asked with a surprised smile. Jacob was relieved to see her looking pleasantly surprised on seeing him. He took a sigh of relief and smiled at her. "I'm here to pick you up," Jacob said brightly. Before Sophie could reply, a crude voice boomed loudly at him. "Since when did you decide that it was your turn to pick up my niece?" Jacob turned around and saw Sophie's third uncle, Kenith, staring at him, standing like a tower beside a black Mercedes. His big eyes and bushy eyebrows stood out from the crowd.
Please subscribe to the Pocket FM YouTube channel and press the bell icon for instant notification. Check out our channel for more such exciting shows.